In a small, dimly lit apartment, a young musician named Emma sat hunched over her guitar, her fingers gently strumming the strings. She had been trying to make it in the music industry for years. Every day she would pour her heart into her songs, hoping one would stand out. But despite her talent, opportunities always seemed just out of reach. Bills piled up on the table, and her dreams of making it big felt like they were slipping further away. Emma had tried everything, performing at local clubs, sending her demos to every music label she could think of, even reaching out to other musicians for advice. But nothing seemed to click. She was stuck, unsure of what to do next. Her friends often told her to keep going, to chase her dream no matter how tough it got. But the harsh reality was weighing on her. The money was running low, and her spirit was starting to break. Still, Emma wouldn't give up. Music was all she knew, and she couldn't imagine doing anything else. She had always believed that one day something would change. It had to. She had worked too hard, sacrificed too much. But the pressure was building, and the days felt longer. With every failure, her hope began to fade just a little more. It was hard to believe in a future when the present felt so uncertain. It was on one of those bleak days that Emma's life would take a turn, one she never saw coming, a chance encounter with someone who would change everything. It was a crisp afternoon when Emma decided to take a walk, hoping some fresh air would clear her mind. She wandered aimlessly through the bustling streets, her head filled with thoughts of what could be. She wasn't expecting anything to change, but as she passed a small cafe, she noticed a familiar face sitting at one of the tables outside. It was Diana Ross. Emma's heart skipped a beat. The legendary singer, the woman whose music had shaped generations, was sitting just a few feet away, sipping her coffee. She looked so relaxed, so approachable. Emma had always admired Diana's voice, her confidence, and the way she lit up a room. To her, Diana Ross was the epitome of everything she wanted to be. But now she was just a woman enjoying a peaceful moment, no different from anyone else. Emma hesitated for a moment. Her heart raced, and she considered walking past, telling herself that someone like Diana would never want to talk to someone like her. But something inside her shifted. She had nothing to lose. This could be the opportunity she had been waiting for. So, with shaky hands, she took a deep breath and walked up to Diana's table. "Excuse me," Emma began, her voice barely above a whisper. "I am a huge fan. Your music has meant so much to me." Diana looked up, her eyes warm and kind. "Thank you," she said with a smile. "That's always wonderful to hear." Emma felt a surge of courage. "I'm a musician too. I've been trying to make it, but things aren't going well. It's hard, you know." Diana listened intently, not rushing Emma's words. Her eyes softened, and she nodded in understanding. "You know," Diana said after a pause, "I've been where you are, struggling to find your way. But you have to keep going. You just need the right support, the right moment to break through." Emma couldn't believe what she was hearing. Diana Ross, a music icon, was listening to her, understanding her struggles. And then Diana did something unexpected. She looked directly into Emma's eyes and offered her a chance that would change her life forever. Diana took another sip of her coffee, her gaze never leaving Emma's. The warmth in her eyes was comforting, as though she understood everything Emma was feeling without needing to say a word. Emma's mind raced, struggling to process what was happening. Was this really happening? "I know how hard it can be," Diana continued, setting her cup down slowly. "The music industry can be unforgiving, but the key is to keep going, even when it feels impossible." Emma nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. She had heard these words before, but from Diana they carried a weight she couldn't ignore. Diana Ross, a woman who had lived through the highs and lows of fame, was telling her to keep going. It felt surreal, like some sort of dream. "I've had my share of challenges," Diana added, her voice soft but firm. "But what helped me most was having people who believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. You need to find those people, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it." Emma felt a lump in her throat. She had always been too proud to ask for help, too afraid of seeming weak or desperate. But Diana's words struck a chord with her. Maybe she didn't have to do it alone. Maybe it was okay to reach out, to accept support. "I don't know what to say," Emma stammered, overwhelmed by the kindness she was receiving. "Thank you for listening, but I'm just a small-time musician. I don't have anything to offer you." Diana smiled, her expression calm and reassuring. "You don't have to offer me anything. But I do believe you have something special. You just need to find the right opportunity, the right platform to showcase your talent." Emma swallowed hard. "But how? I've tried everything. I've played every gig, sent out demos. Nothing's working." Diana leaned forward, her eyes intent on Emma. "You're missing one thing. You need to believe in yourself first, and when you do, you'll find that doors start to open. But sometimes, you need someone to give you that little push." Emma's chest tightened as Diana reached into her bag and pulled out a card. She handed it to Emma with a gentle smile. "Take this. It's my manager's contact. I can talk to him, and we'll figure out a way to get you in front of the right people. But remember, this is just the beginning. You have to keep putting in the work." Emma felt her hands tremble as she took the card. Her breath caught in her throat. This wasn't just a simple offer, this was a lifeline, a chance to finally get her music heard by the right people. She stared at the card for a moment, unsure of how to process the moment unfolding before her. "I don't know what to say," Emma whispered, barely able to believe her words. Thank you so much." Diana smiled again, her warmth filling the space between them. "Just keep doing what you love. The rest will fall into place." With that, Emma stood up, still in disbelief. She had come to that cafe just to clear her mind, never imagining that this encounter would change everything. Diana Ross had just given her more than advice. She had given her hope. The days following her encounter with Diana Ross were a blur for Emma. She couldn't believe that the legendary singer had taken the time to listen to her, let alone offer such a generous act of kindness. The card Diana had given her felt like a golden ticket, an opportunity she had dreamed of but never thought possible. But Emma knew that this wasn't just about getting a foot in the door, it was about proving that she was worthy of the chance Diana had given her. She wasted no time. The very next day, Emma contacted Diana's manager, her hands shaking as she dialed the number. She wasn't sure what to expect, but she was determined to follow through. When the manager answered, Emma's heart raced. It felt like the start of something new, but also terrifying. She introduced herself, explained her connection with Diana, and shared her music. The manager, kind but professional, promised to listen to her work and get back to her soon. It wasn't long before Emma started receiving responses. Small gigs started coming her way. A local radio station asked her to perform a live set. A small label offered to review her music for possible future collaborations. For the first time in a long time, Emma felt like things were finally moving in the right direction. The opportunities were still small, but they were real. She could feel herself growing, her confidence building with every new step, but it wasn't just the opportunities that changed. Emma herself was different. She had always been hesitant to believe in her own talent, afraid that if she put herself out there, she would fail. But now, with Diana's words echoing in her mind, "You need to believe in yourself first," Emma found herself pushing through the fear. She started writing more, creating music that came from the deepest parts of her heart. She no longer doubted whether she was good enough. Instead, she focused on sharing her truth. As the weeks went by, Emma found herself being invited to perform at slightly bigger venues. Her fan base began to grow, and with it her confidence. Every time she stepped onto the stage, the nerves were there, but they didn't paralyze her like they used to. She was starting to realize that she didn't need to be perfect, she just needed to be true to herself and her music. The small victories were adding up, but there was one thing that kept Emma grounded through it all: the memory of Diana's kindness. Every time things seemed overwhelming, she thought about that moment at the cafe. Diana hadn't just given her advice, she had given her the belief that anything was possible, if she just kept moving forward. Emma was more determined than ever. She knew this was just the beginning. She still had a long road ahead, but now the road felt a little less lonely. With Diana's guidance in her heart, Emma knew she could keep going. And maybe, just maybe, the world would hear her music soon. The musician had been riding a wave of newfound hope and determination. Ever since that fateful meeting with Diana Ross, their career had taken a turn for the better. Small gigs had turned into bigger ones, and people were finally starting to notice their talent. Though they weren't famous yet, they were on their way. One evening, as they sat in their tiny apartment, strumming their guitar, they thought about everything Diana had done for them. It wasn't just her encouragement, it was the belief she had in them. That belief had changed everything. The musician decided to send her a heartfelt thank you message. They didn't expect anything in return. They simply wanted her to know that her kindness had made a difference. Miss Ross, I just wanted to take a moment to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your words and support changed my life. I'm working hard every day, and I finally feel like I have a real shot at this. I'll never forget what you did for me. Thank you. They hit send, not even sure if she would see it. After all, she was a living legend. The next morning, their phone buzzed. It was a reply from Diana Ross herself. The musician's heart pounded as they opened the message. I'm so happy to hear that. I knew you had something special. Keep going. This is just the beginning. By the way, I have a little surprise for you. Call me when you're free. A surprise. What could she mean? Hands shaking, the musician dialed the number she had given them. Diana answered almost instantly. I've been thinking about you, she said warmly. I love supporting young talent, and I want to do something special. How would you feel about collaborating with me on a song? The musician nearly dropped the phone. Collaborate with Diana Ross? I don't even know what to say, they stammered. Are you serious? Diana laughed. Of course I am. You've got talent, and I believe in you. Let's make something beautiful together. Tears welled in the musician's eyes. This wasn't just a dream come true, it was beyond their wildest imagination. A few months had passed since that unforgettable phone call with Diana Ross. The collaboration had been everything the musician had dreamed of and more. Working side by side with the legendary artist, they poured their heart and soul into every note. The song they created together was a masterpiece, and its release marked a new chapter in the musician's life. They had gone from struggling to make ends meet to sharing a creative space with an icon, and now their music was being heard by people around the world. Each performance felt like a step closer to a future they had once only imagined. As the musicians sat in their studio, listening to the final mix of their song, they thought about everything that had happened. They remembered the nights spent alone, writing songs in their small apartment, dreaming of a breakthrough. They had never imagined it would come in the form of Diana Ross, someone who had not only believed in their talent, but had actively worked to make their dreams a reality. They picked up their guitar, strumming a few chords, and smiled. The journey was far from over, but it had come full circle. They had gone from being a struggling artist with no direction to an up-and-coming star with the opportunity of a lifetime. And it was all thanks to the kindness and generosity of a woman who had changed their life forever. Diana Ross hadn't just helped them with their music, she had given them hope when they had none. The musician was filled with gratitude, a gratitude so deep that words could never fully express it. As they thought about how far they had come, they whispered to themselves, "This is just the beginning."